Okay, I think I will be starting slowly and then we will admit people as they come in. A very warm welcome to this webinar this afternoon, a webinar about the ITS European Congress in Lisbon that is coming up in May. My name is Lisa Bock-Andersen. I am the Congress Director for ERTICO and also Director of Communications and Events. I am delighted to be hosting the webinar of today. If we move forward, I just want to underline that this is the first of a series of webinars. As you can see here, we have 4 webinars planned for you, taking us on a journey until we meet in Lisbon. These webinars, they cover key topics that will run through the entire Congress. I'll come back to that. And today, the topic is cooperative, connective, and automated mobility, also known as CCAM. So let me move to the agenda for today. In a moment, I will hand over to my CEO, Joost van Tomme, who is the CEO of ERTICO ITS Europe, who will give a short introduction. And then I will give a short overview of the Congress in Lisbon. And after that, we're moving to the panel that will go more in depth into the topic of today, CCAM. And that panel will be led by my lovely colleague, Stefan Dreher, Senior Manager from the Innovation and Deployment Department of ERTICO. And you can see here we have both representation from the European Commission and also from 2 organizations, Ubiwhere and CTAG, both exhibitors and or sponsors. Stefan will introduce them more in detail when we come to the panel, but I just want to thank everyone already now for being with us here today. Topic of the day, just a short introduction. As you can see, there are very, very many aspects that are relevant for CCAM. The implication on the infrastructure, both physical and digital. There's lots of pilots, lots of testing going on. The policies that are being put in place are really important. But not only that, also the behavior of all of us, the implication of our behavior on the roads, and also our attitude. To what extent are we embracing the idea of CCAM? The standard settings are very important, and we could go on and on. You will hear about some of these things today, and what we don't touch upon, we'll hear about in May. House rules. Well, you are all in listen-only mode, but you're more than welcome to ask questions. As you can see here, we're asking you to please send your question to the email address you can see, preferably also noting who they are addressed to. The reason for that is because the Q&A on Teams doesn't work for all. So we will centralize the questions here. The webinar will be recorded and shared, of course, on all our channels. And before I hand over to Joost van Tomme, I also just want to take the opportunity to thank Rita Bandari from my team, who has been pulling all this together and who has done a great job. Joost, over to you, please.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, lovely colleagues here and also the people present. Quite some people on this webinar. This is the kickoff for the Congress webinar series. Let me go quickly through ERTICO ITS Europe. I'm very proud to be the CEO since 1 year now, starting last year in January 2022, with a great team, but even more great partners or members and in our ecosystem. This is about making mobility and transport smarter, safer, and sustainable, more sustainable even. The uniqueness of ERTICO is that we are not a private company, we're not a public authority, but we are a kind of mixture. We are a unique public-private partnership. Started with a number of frontrunners in 91 with the Jacques Delors Commission at that time to bring innovation in transport and mobility through projects, through exhibitions, congresses, thought leadership. The scope is not only the EU 27+1, but it's EMEA. That's not surprisingly. We have our World Congress that we organize next year in Dubai. This is actually what we do. We connect the dots, as you may have seen in the various congresses and projects. We connect all these ecosystems with each other, trying to innovate, trying to be, I would say, innovative in Europe, EMEA, for the world in transport. We have numerous projects on that, numerous thought leadership papers, white papers, black papers, green papers, whatever, but at least very good knowledge that we want to bring into the ecosystem. Thanks to the cooperation with all these partners in these ecosystems, we can say that we are very proud to deliver, I would say, all these innovations in transport, one of them being CCAM. CCAM has been on the agenda since, I would say, 2014-15 of the European Commission, has received a boost by also transport ministers in high-level meetings. That I got the luxury also to take part of it in the previous job, and now being I would say live for not only for demonstration, for piloting, but actually for implementation. And that is what is our ecosystem of ERTICO doing, and what Stefan, my colleague here, will guide you through today. What I expect from the Congress is not only you in the middle, but also I expect a lot of tangible proof points for innovation with technology, policy discussions. We have Andrea Di Candido here from DG RTD with us, who will give us a good overview of where we are on the CCAM, but also exhibiting new things, demonstrate new things. Some of the partners here present today in the call, in the webinar, will present their new features. And actually the technical program, as we say, is about the special interest sessions, technical papers, academics together with industry and public authorities. We're going to brainstorm, discuss these tickets, and afterwards there will be a big report done by our Congress, I would say congressman, who will do the report afterwards. So we try to connect dots. Happy to see all of you, and now leaving you back to you, Lisa, for guiding us through this webinar. Good luck, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Joost, for this nice introduction. And for those who arrived a bit late, this was Joost van Tomme, our CEO at ERTICO ITS Europe, and I am the Congress Director and Director for Communications of ERTICO. And this is all about our Congress in Lisbon and about CCAM, which is a key topic. Thank you very much. So let me give an update of the Congress, if we can have the slides up. At least I don't see the slides anymore. So let me start by introducing the city. Every Congress we have, European and worldwide, we have a host city, and obviously that is Lisbon for May, and it is very apt to have that city because the mobility is essential. Lisbon is really on the move, as you can see here on the slide. Not only are they refurbishing traffic light control systems, they're doing a lot of other different initiatives, including the high-speed rail project linking key cities together. But more than that, it is really a multimodality city in action, with one of the biggest ports in the city, in the country, but also that whole shared mobility exploration that we have. So we couldn't ask for a more relevant host in terms of smart mobility and ITS. The Congress facility is the so-called CCL, Congress Center of Lisbon, and you can see here it is well situated, just 20 minutes from the airport and also 20 minutes from the city center of Lisbon. Now, why would you join? Well, there are lots of reasons to join, and here are a couple of them. Networking, we learned during COVID, is essential, but not only networking, also moving yourself towards the business objectives that you want to reach and towards leveraging the huge representation of the ecosystem to enter into new partnerships. As Joost van Tomme was saying, we have a unique mix of public and private representation at the Congress. And there is, of course, also the opportunity to test the smart mobility in action and to be part of the policy debates. And last but not least, for those who haven't been to Lisbon, it's a lovely city worth visiting. Now, if we go a little bit more in depth, how can you join? Well, as Joost was already mentioning shortly, we have key pillars that are very important for the Congress. The high-level program, which brings really top-notch speakers across all spectrums discussing some of the high-level trends, opportunities, and challenges. And next to that, we have this technical program, which I believe is pretty unmatched, as we have up to 100 technical sessions that are being pulled together. And on top of that, we have the exhibition, we have the demonstrations, and of course also the social events. I'll come back to that in a second. And there is the opportunity for sponsorship as well. Talking about the program here, you see it at a glance. 3 days from morning to evening. The technical program I was mentioning, that is what we call the specialist sessions that go throughout the 3 days. The high-level program starts with the first plenary. You can see them here in green on Monday, followed by the opening ceremony, and very importantly, the exhibition welcome. And you can see the exhibition is open as of noon already, and demonstrations, they open from early morning, and they run until the very end of Wednesday, where we end with a big bang. We have our last plenary, we have a closing ceremony, and we have the farewell exhibition reception. But more than that, we also have a VIP dinner and the by now very well known gala dinner, where literally hundreds of people come and take the opportunity to meet each other over a nice bite to eat. And perhaps a glass of nice wine to drink with it. Now, going forward, you can see here the Congress Center in Lisbon that I mentioned before. You can see we will have the plenaries at the top. We will have all the technical sessions on the ground and the exhibition outside. All is on the website, very important. So if you want more information, please go on the website. We have it here on the slide, as you can see. Now let's get back to the Congress topics. You have the 5 Congress topics. We mentioned them briefly at the beginning. Here, CCAM, new mobility services, freight and logistics, digitalization, which is ever more important, and future traffic management, and all of it under an umbrella of ITS, the game changer. And these topics are being pulled together on the technical program. Those of you who have participated know that all the contributions, they closed the 20th of January. We literally got hundreds of contributions that we're now building up into the plus minus 100 sessions. On the plenary side, you see here the 4 topics that have been pulled together. We are also in the process of finalizing all the speakers. They will appear in the following weeks on the website. Importantly, if you have a speaker, a high-level speaker you think would be relevant and who would fit nicely into these topics, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find all the information on the website. And as we mentioned, there are plenty of opportunities to partner with us, to sponsor, whether you want to build further thought leadership, whether you want to generate leads, whether you want more brand exposure, or just building community. Again, you can see here the link. Please contact us as soon as possible. Just a snapshot of exhibitors that are coming on board, and you can see here the next slide shows the floor plan, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed, it is an interactive floor plan, which is being updated all the time. Again, the website is the key. Go and have a look. We also have, last but not least, a quick timeline for you. Mid-February, in 2 weeks, we open up registrations, and don't forget the early bird that runs until mid-April. The app, which is hugely successful every year to build bridges between people that are otherwise a bit hard to reach, is opening up end of April, just a month before we open the doors with the Congress. I think that closes my quick update, other than just saying there are, of course, a number of communication channels that you can use to watch this space. You have them here for you to keep up to date and also get connected. And we look very much forward, of course, to seeing you in the flesh, so to speak, when we meet up in May. With that, I want to end my little update here, and then we move to our second part of this overview, namely the panel discussing CCAM, and I hand over now to Stefandrea, who is our Senior Manager in Innovation and Deployment, and who will moderate the panel. Stefan, over to you, please.
Thank you, Lisa. I hope you can see my slides. So indeed, as you said, so I'm Stefan Dreher. I'm Senior Manager Innovation and Deployment for CCAM at ERTICO ITS Europe. And it's a pleasure for me today to introduce and moderate the discussions for this second part of the webinar, where we will dive into some activities in CCAM in Europe and hopefully get a taste of what we can expect at the Congress in May in that particular area. So I will just to set the scene, what better way than to speak about the ERTICO roadmap. So CCAM, or Connected Cooperative Automated Mobility, is one of the 4 focus areas which ERTICO is working on together with its partners. So our main goal in this area is to support and accelerate both research and innovation and deployment of automation and connectivity for a safer and smart mobility. And for that, we have summarized here the different steps that we see for research and innovation in CCAM in the next years, in order to ensure that by 2035 we achieve an integrate CCAM services that are integrated, accepted, inclusive, and supported by the infrastructure in order to support decarbonization. And to do that, we have several steps on the way. So what is very important is to start with a ground layer of really coordination tools and harmonized approaches. So we have several projects that have been funded by the European Commission in Horizon 2020, like Arcade, Head Start, that have built and Ensemble that have built these harmonized approaches. These are followed up now in the new CCAM projects funded by Horizon Europe, by projects like FAME, coordinated by ERTICO, and building a European framework for testing, or Sunrise, developing a framework for safety assessment. Another very important area that has now is gaining more importance is really the importance to have increased societal awareness and societal impacts for that. So what we have here is we have several projects as well, like the ongoing We Transform project, looking at initiative or developing action-oriented agenda to address the impacts of automation and digitalization on the workforce. And this is followed up now by projects like Sinfonica, which is building the actually as well some participatory frameworks for the citizens. It's very important here when I speak about engaging or investigating the societal acceptance is to understand the user needs and the citizens' needs beyond actually the users of the system, because they will be impacted by all these changes, and we really need to build them in and co-create the solutions with them. Then another very important aspect is the infrastructure. So it's very important here that we understand the needs regarding infrastructure and connectivity for high-level automation and work together on common definition for the infrastructure. So we had, for example, on connectivity aspects, a series of projects on the cross-border 5G PPP projects like 5G Meta, 5G Loginoff, and 5G Mobix. They will be now followed up by new projects looking into digital infrastructure like Podium and into CCAM. All these projects together should help us to better understand the wider impacts of automated driving for passenger and logistics. And for that, it's very important that we continue large-scale demonstrations, in particular, the demonstrations that also integrate these solutions into the existing transport system, in particular public transport. So projects like SHOW, for example, in which we are also involved, are very important, and we will have other large-scale demonstrations that need to be conducted. So I mentioned already these different research and innovation activities that are ongoing, but of course we need still to look ahead and to look what needs to be done next for the research and innovation in Europe. So as ERTICO, we are involved actively in the development of calls that drive the research and innovation that is required to advance the development and deployment of CCAM. I just highlight a few of these areas. So one very important one is the CCAM partnership. So we have been involved in the CCAM partnership since the start and are very actively contributing to it. So we are leading the Cluster 7 on coordination and co-leading the one on the infrastructure, which is called Integrating the Vehicle in the Transport System. And we have there contributed to developing the work program 2023-2024. And I've highlighted just here 3 of the calls that are currently open and that are focusing on its infrastructure and coordination aspects, which are really at the heart of our roadmap and our activities. I will not go into details of that because I know that Andrea De Candido from the Commission will also explain a bit more about the CCAM partnership and these calls. But another activity I would like really to highlight as well is this cooperation we have currently with the European Space Agency and ESA. So there, ERTICO signed recently a memorandum of intent to further safer and smarter mobility in the frame. And in the frame of this cooperation, so ESA's Navigation, Innovation and Support Program, which is short called NAVISP, has launched a thematic window to advance the use of positioning, navigation and timing information in the domain of CCAM. And there's currently a call open, and I've put here the link. It's open at the moment for the submission of ideas. The slides will be shared anyway afterwards, so you will have all the links directly as well included in it. This slide is just to show that a lot is happening at the moment in Europe. So in the center, you see a map of European testing activities that we have been building in the FAME project, and since already the previous project Arcade that was coordinated by ERTICO. So at the moment, we have mapped more than 180 test sites, and it really shows all the diverse activity that is happening at European level. And I've also illustrated here around what is that actually we also want to look at what's happening in the world. The idea is really that we need to cooperate. So what I meant here, what I indicated here are some examples of cooperation opportunities that we have identified with the different regions in the FRAME project, but as well as through other cooperation. And it's not exhaustive, but it really shows that we need to continue working together with all the regions in order to exchange best practices, lessons learned. We want to understand better what's working, why some use cases are working better in some areas and some less. So I really think we can learn from each other. And what I just would like to mention here quickly is definitely for US and Japan, we have the ongoing trilateral cooperation on automation in road transport. So there, we have learned that from the US, we can definitely learn from the cooperative platooning activities, automated delivery, driverless taxi pilots, and as well the data exchange. From Japan, we can learn about the transition, the social transition, and in particular, how the rural area testing they are carrying on can help in this area for CCAM. Of course, we would like benefit as well from the extensive experience there on digital infrastructure development and connectivity trials. Australia is very interested at the moment to learn from Europe about data for road safety, for example, and impact assessment methodologies. And we are eager, on the other way, to learn from their experience in assessing the readiness for roads on connected automated driving. With China, there is the current ICV roadmap initiative. So that's short for the International Communication and Cooperation Committee of ICV, so Intelligent Connected Vehicles roadmap, in which ERTICO is actively involved and where we are sharing the different roadmap developments in order to have a harmonized roadmap development. I also would like to mention here our ethical partner RTA, so from Dubai, so their Road Transport Authority has developed a very ambitious self-driving strategy, which includes all the different transport modes. And they have been recently recognized as well by ERTICO as for their Intelligent Traffic Systems Center and their work on ITS and the traffic management. So with that, for this last slide, I just would like to go a bit deeper into what's happening in Europe. So this is also an overview that we have been carried out. So one of the activities in the FAME project has been to build a European-wide knowledge base on CCAM. I've indicated the link here. We have more than 340 projects mapped there at the moment. And what I just would like to show with this slide is that, so we have classified here the different projects according to the topics of the CCAM partnership that they are addressing. So there are 7 topics going from large-scale demonstration, technologies, validation, infrastructure, technologies itself, and then social and user acceptance. And what we see here is that there is a lot happening actually at the level of member states. So the column on the left for each topic is representing the number of Horizon 2020, so European projects, and the columns on the right are showing what is being funded and done at the level of member states and actually also regional and cities. And what we see is in some areas like vehicle technologies, validation or infrastructure, actually even up to twice the number of projects are being carried out at the level of member states. So here member states and also at European level, the project can really learn from each other. We see some other topics like social user aspects that are a bit less addressed, but now in the at least ongoing projects, the ones represented in blue here, it's balancing out a bit. On the right, just try to show a bit the driving environment that is being addressed in these different tests. There's still a lot of focus today on highway and motorway and urban areas, and not much on rural and suburban and even on mixed traffic. So these are definitely areas that we need to work on. So with that, I will stop my introduction here and hand over to the floor to our speakers. What we will do is that we will now have the presentation from the different speakers. As was explained by Lisa, you can ask the questions either directly on the Q&A, but preferably as well using the email that was shared at the beginning. I think it will be shared again just before that. And then we will have the panel discussion and work on the question and answers at the end. I will just take over quickly at the end to also make the link to the topics of the Congress. So we have with us today a great panel of speakers who joined us to present about activities in CCAM that are in line with the trends I just mentioned. So we have 3 presentations. The first one is by Andrea De Candido, who is Policy Officer, Future Urban and Mobility Systems at the European Commission at DG RTD. So I will hand over now to you, Andrea. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And I would like to first of all thank ERTICO for having given us the possibility of joining this very interesting workshop and giving the possibility to me to illustrate in the next few minutes what we're doing at European level on CCAM from the side of the Commission. So first of all, we all know that CCAM is going to enable the achievement of a number of objectives, like, first of all, safety, making our roads much safer and reducing the overall number of people that are injured or killed on our roads. It is also going to contribute to the diminishment of the impact of road transport on the climate issues. It will allow for transport services to be extended to people that today do not have easy access to transport services. But for sure, what is being done is not starting from the scratch and is plugged into a bigger picture. And the bigger picture you see here on the screen. There are the two big priorities of the Commission, the Green Deal. I've mentioned the impact on the climate neutrality that CCAM will have. It's the European data strategy, so fully exploiting the opportunities that are offered by the IT developments. The automated mobility is also explicitly mentioned in the Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy that came out in 2020, where it was clearly set as an ambition to have automated mobility deployed at large scale by 2030, which means more or less tomorrow morning. And then we have the missions, just to say that when one of the risks when we're dealing with this kind of thing is to do everything in a stovepipe manner. This is what we are trying to avoid. So we then try to plug in or to establish the correct synergies between CCAM and other initiatives such as the Climate Neutral Cities Mission or electrification in general. And I will come back to this in the next few slides. How are we doing this? Well, at European level, we have set up formally in 2021 public-private co-program partnership between the Commission and a number of entities. 207 entities are now part of this partnership. And this is really in order to allow to decide on what is the end objective that we all agree upon and how to get there. So to define a strategic roadmap on how to get to this final objective, which is the strategic research and innovation agenda of the partnership. And why a partnership on research? Well, this is an innovation-led dimension, and through research we can actually drive the process and accelerate it in the direction that we want it to go. So not to just passively take on our side whatever is coming up. It's not the strategic research and innovation agenda already demonstrates that there is a clear roadmap. And this roadmap is not simply a collection of activities that need to be funded in research. It's really a ramping up of the activities, meaning starting from putting in place the different building blocks in terms of technologies that are available at a sufficient level of maturity, and then building on the outcomes of these research projects until finally going into the so-called large-scale demonstrators, which Stefan also mentioned, which is really where we bring everything together in an integrated manner and we demonstrate how this can really work in a real-life environment. But we're not starting from the scratch in any case. A number of activities, Joost mentioned that CCAM, it's already a few years that has been ongoing with projects that have been ongoing since the 2014-15 or even earlier. So it's not starting now with Horizon Europe. We have had very significant projects already on the Horizon 2020. Some of these are still ongoing. And for sure, these projects, some of these are pilot precursors of the large-scale demonstrators that we will have in the end. And for sure, we are making sure that the outcomes of these projects is fully fed into the new projects that are now launched under the umbrella of the partnership. In the next couple of slides, I've just put all the projects that have now been launched, that have started in the last 6 months of 2022 and that are stemming from the 21 and 22 calls. I'm not going to go through them. You will have the slides and each slide has a specific link that allows you to get a bit more information on these projects. For sure, it's just for you to have a wide understanding of how much investment and effort is being put on the side of the EU in this domain, and how this investment is actually covering the 7 main areas that are the clusters that you see on the left column in this and in the following slides, that are the main areas that have been identified by the partnership that need to be addressed in order to be able to reach the final objectives that have been set. So the previous was the 2021 call. This is the 2022. Overall, we're speaking about 18 projects that have been launched now in the second half of 2022. And here you see the topics that have been published for the 2023 and 2024 call that the Commission adopted last December. We're speaking about 10 topics that are specifically designated as labeled as CCAM, plus an additional topic that is in the cities, the Climate Neutral Cities Mission Work Program, which is the first one at the top here. That goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, where we're trying to force different communities that are working in areas that are evidently complementary one to the other. We're really pushing them to work together, and how to do so, where we hope that the leverage that we can obtain, that we are putting with the European funding, will allow us to bring these communities together. The cities, the joint topic in the Cities Mission Work Program is already open. It has a deadline at the end of April, while the CCAM topics that are in Destination 6 of the Cluster 5 Work Program are all opening in May, on the 4th of May, and closing on the 5th of September. So still some time to be able to join possible consortia that are putting themselves together for this purpose. International collaboration was mentioned by Stefan. We, of course, this is a priority for the Commission as well. We fully acknowledge that when we're speaking about automated mobility, we can't look only at Europe. The market will be a global market, and what no one can afford is to develop vehicles, different vehicles in function of the region of deployment. This would be too expensive, too inefficient. So we absolutely need to work with international partners to achieve this common goal. And all the calls that are in the Commission Work Program explicitly mention and encourage the participation of international partners in the projects. Lastly, allow me just a few words to say something about the regulation that was adopted in the summer of 2022, last year, which is the first regulation in the world to explicitly foresee the possibility for level 4 automation on roads. Of course, this now needs to be implemented also within national regulations within Europe, but it is really a first in its kind. And it is a bit contradicting some criticism that we often hear about regulation being too slow and not being able to keep up with the outcomes of fast moving technologies. Actually, here we have a regulation that is already enabling what will be coming out of future technologies. With that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Happy to take any question that you will have, and I hand over back to Stefan.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for this overview of the current policy context in Europe and also the CCAM partnership activities. And I like indeed that you made this link with the importance of involving the other communities and the collaboration between the programs, particularly with the missions and so on, to bring really CCAM into the cities. So thank you very much for that. So I will just want to remind you again to the audience for the questions. So as we said, you can post your questions either through the Q&A or by sending by an email your questions to the address below here, the congresspr@mail.ertico.com. And with that, I will hand over directly to our next speaker, who is Ricardo Vitorino, and who is Smart Cities Research and Innovation Manager at Ubiwhere. So, Ricardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Thanks, ERTICO, for the kind invitation for this wonderful workshop, and thanks to all of you who are attending and listening to us. So my name is Ricardo. I work at Ubiwhere as Head of Research and Innovation for Smart Cities. And in this slide, I would like to show you that this is how we see the future of urban mobility. So cities without congestion, with people walking and riding, with a lot of nature-based solutions, and public services working smoothly, ideally with electric vehicles or vehicles that are connected and not producing many emissions in this urban environment. So going straight to the point and sharing a bit of our experience, we understand that mobility is a fundamental human need for us to move around people and goods, and essentially enabler of prosperity for different businesses and organizations. But as the World Economic Forum states, the current mobility paradigm is not sustainable. And indeed, our value proposition as a European SME based in Portugal, we help cities and the city management offices to improve the quality of life through digitization, through novel services and technologies that help solving efficiency problems and improve the quality of life of their citizens and workers and visitors. We help stimulating cities to adopt sustainable urban mobility plans as guided and recommended by the European Commission, overall to improve the quality of life for residents, to address the major challenges related to congestion, pollution, road accidents, and climate change, and integrating new and shared mobility services such as CCAM. We can help using technology to encourage shared mobility and more sustainable transportation options, creating awareness and allowing for incentives for these options in contrast with the private vehicle in order to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and concentration from these transportation systems. Overall, for our customers and partners, we want to ensure that we can safeguard the quality of public spaces by achieving low car areas and proper reliable services. And this can be benefited and harness the major outcomes of automation, connectivity, and smart mobility services, as stated by the European Commission with the CCAM initiative and strategy, as you saw in Andrea's presentation and also from Stefan before. So we can help reduce fuel consumption and emissions, helps reducing time spent in traffic, as well as the human factor responsibility of fatal crashes, all in all to pave the way for automated driving. And one of the flagship solutions we have that can help cities achieve this is called the Urban Platform, a digital solution for governments and city authorities, which can give them real-time data and real-time decisions, making sure that they can analyze information from several domains and sources in a single screen, seeing the traffic flow observations, real-time vehicle position, the planning of the shared mobility options, availability of infrastructure, problems, issues, feedback, assessment collected by the citizen community, but also insights and alarms for decision making in real time. Overall, to improve and enhance the services for ourselves, the citizens. As well, using data and novel technology and state-of-the-art research, we can help provide simulations of deployment of new mobility services, but also forecasting the availability of infrastructure, availability of parking, the usage and the flow of traffic across several streets, but also then improving the usability of access to this information and providing best practices to ensure that the data can be understood and help in estimating the greenhouse gas emissions and evaluation of the impact. This is something that can reach the community, so we can then provide digital tools and usable applications for them to be aware of the mobility services around them, estimate their carbon footprint, and become as well capable of choosing the best options and make the best decisions according to the available options using digital tools, either through mobile applications or other formats such as open data portals and surveys. This is something that we've been developing for the last couple of years using research and development funding. We work together with cities, and one of the best practices and case studies by the European Commission was the city of Guimarães under the European Location Interoperability Solutions for E-Government initiative from the Joint Research Center, so ELIS. We participated in a case study led by Gartner, and we were considered the best practice together with the city in developing the urban platform and creating interoperability for data on location and mobility services. Furthermore, one of the projects presented before into CCAM that started last November, we have also the urban platform being enriched with the simulation of CCAM deployments in the region of Guimarães, together with the association quadrilateral of 4 Portuguese municipalities, Braga, Famalicão, Guimarães, and Barcelos. So we keep working on this and ensure that we can leverage on existing infrastructure to handle this and not just use the digital tools. So the other solution, the Unical platform, allows us to orchestrate and manage capabilities of shared smart infrastructure, meaning that we can have wireless connectivity, Internet of Things, sensing, electrical vehicle charging, edge computing for distribution of computing and new use cases, but also new business models in infrastructure such as lampposts, bus stops, kiosks, and cabinets that are typically ubiquitous in the city environment. What we can provide as use cases is to then leverage on existing sensing equipment such as CCTV cameras and IoT devices to collect data and process it just there at the edge in order to detect objects such as cars, other types of objects, and even people, anonymizing sensitive data such as people's faces and license plates, but getting metrics back to the community and back to the city decision maker to understand if there is enough parking, if there is a congestion or an accident at the street level. But also we can then enable the CCAM use case. So here in Aveiro, we have demonstrated, thanks to Right to Autonomy project, and together with municipality and the University of Aveiro, we have demonstrated an autonomous shuttle last year during Aveiro Tech Week. And here you see an example of a lamppost using CCTV camera to process data, but also having a roadside unit inside its infrastructure to collect information reported by the vehicle and getting information back to its onboard unit. This was something that was demonstrated not just for the sake of technology, it would also involve the community. So a lot of the work done in this Right to Autonomy project was to involve the local community and the municipality and the decision makers to make sure people were aware of the benefits and how to use this autonomous shuttle, and to make sure that it was safe and they could share their feedback and their concerns. So besides providing graphic material to the community to involve them and have them on board of these vehicles to experiment with it and get feedback, we also organized workshops where they could ask questions and we could understand what were the main concerns and challenges that they see using these types of vehicles. So again, Right to Autonomy allowed us to collect this information and now making a best practice along with other 9 cities all across Europe that demonstrated autonomous vehicles in this period. We are here for the long run, so we do not want to stop here. We want to help suiting the futures of cities and regions, providing real-time data collection and digital tools to improve the services for the community, always thinking with the citizen in the center of the approach, and to improve the energy efficiency and reduce emissions. This achieves our vision for smart cities, where we see a smart city as our own nervous system, where the urban platform is the equivalent of the central nervous system, so our brain, where the decisions are made, but then we have distributed infrastructure all across the body, where we can sense temperature changes, we can sense things are changing in the environment and make decisions right there without involving the brain. So all of this is part of our forecast for new solutions. Feel free to reach us through our website, download our content, but please come to Lisbon in May. Visit us either in Aveiro as you move across Portugal or in our stand at P18, very close to one from ERTICO. And feel free to let us know if you come so that we can organize everything that you want in Lisbon and in Portugal. Thank you so much for your attention, and back to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, for this very interesting presentation on the solutions and platforms from Ubiwhere. It really matches all the topics well that we presented and shows that you're integrating everything. So with that, I would like to hand over directly to our next speaker, who is Francisco Sanchez, who is Electronics, ITS and Smart Mobility Director at CTAG, the Automotive Technology Center of Galicia. Francisco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stefan. It's my pleasure. And thank you also to ERTICO for inviting us to present our view on I think you are now seeing my screen. Yes, okay. Thanks to ERTICO for inviting us to this very interesting webinar. It's our pleasure to share with you ideas and our vision on how CCAM solutions can improve urban mobility, and specifically how last mile autonomous shuttles can improve urban mobility. When looking at the future of urban mobility, it's interesting to analyze the mobility megatrends, and we can identify that the aging of the population, this is nice, we live more years, and we live more and more in urban areas. Around 60% of the world population is living in urban areas, and this is a trend that is going to increase in the next decades. And we have also good news because we are in a digital world, and there are new emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, like cloud computing and distributed computing, like the capacity to develop new sensors, the connectivity technologies, and all these disruptive solutions allow us really to move forward to improve our vehicles in terms of connectivity, also to introduce more and more automated functions, of course, electrifying the vehicle, that will be part of a complete or a global transport ecosystem that will be connected. And we have also, as a good news, the CCAM partnership that has been already very well explained before by my colleagues. And the CCAM will contribute a lot to this goal of increased safety, of reduce or increase the efficiency, avoiding congestions, to ensure an inclusive mobility for everybody, and at the end of the day, also to improve the competitiveness of the European industry through CCAM leadership. And when talking about CCAM, there are many technologies that are relevant, and probably one of the most important is the connectivity, because if we move towards higher automation levels, and if we try to deploy CCAM solutions in complex scenarios like urban scenarios or rural scenarios, connectivity is a must. And we are in a connected world. We cannot, our daily life, we cannot imagine without connectivity technologies, and we should really use in the best possible way the available connectivity solutions that we have. And coming back to the urban mobility, and with all these new technologies that we have mentioned before, it's possible now to develop new mobility solutions that are not coming to substitute present transport solutions, but to enhance and to give value to the portfolio of mobility transport solutions. And this is the case of autonomous shuttles. And I would say that electric autonomous shuttles are somehow pioneers of CCAM capacities, because autonomous shuttles are not coming, as commented before, to substitute all the transport means, but to complement and enhance the portfolio in operations like the ones that we can see in this slide, where probably a 12-meter bus is not cannot solve as good as a vehicle of these characteristics can solve, or when the demand is there is a variety demand during the day. And we at CTAG, we have developed our concept of the autonomous electric shuttle, and one of the main characteristics is the connectivity. In our shuttle, we have implemented an onboard communication unit, which is with a hybrid approach, using the standardized connectivity technologies like ITSG5 or cellular or 5G connectivity, with the idea that the vehicle is part of a holistic connected ecosystem in which all the vehicles are connected, but also traffic lights, cooperative sensors introduced in the city infrastructure, also satellite stations, and of course the traffic management center, the complete system connected. With this vision and with this thought, it's possible really to implement many different CCAM services that will improve a lot the behavior of the autonomous vehicles, not only in terms of safety, also in terms of efficiency, with functions like the ones we can see in this slide, when approaching intersections, respecting vulnerable road users, and with many other functions. I would like to give an example or a couple of examples of the functions that we are testing in our shuttle. This is one example how the cooperative sensing can enhance the perception horizon of the different actors in the scene of the different vehicles. In this case, our shuttle is sharing the detection of a pedestrian with other vehicles, automated or not automated. In this case, it's an autonomous prototype. The blue car is receiving the information of the presence of the pedestrian and the position of the pedestrian in advance, so before its own sensors can detect. With this, we can really anticipate the situation and converting a potentially critical situation in a normal situation that is possible easily to manage. It is the same. In this case, there is a sensor in the infrastructure analyzing what is happening at the intersection. And imagine that, for instance, the shuttle is receiving the GLOSA information that about the green phase, but there is a vehicle that is crossing the intersection in red. So through the cooperative standards that we have established in Europe, cooperating all together, we can get the information not only about the phase of the traffic light, but also about the presence of a vehicle that is crossing in red the intersection, or a bicycle, in a way that the shuttle can properly react in advance before detecting with the onboard sensors the presence of the vehicle, so improving significantly and enhancing the behavior and the safety of the management of the situation. And these are a couple of examples of the functions that we want to share with you and that we will demonstrate in Lisbon. So we see you in Lisbon. It will be our pleasure really to share with you and to discuss about all the progress that all together are doing in this domain. And thanks a lot for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Francisco, for this also very interesting presentation about the integration and these last mile CCAM solutions, and also the importance of connectivity and cooperative solutions. So I understand that we don't have that many questions online, so I would just like to remind that that it's maybe best to send the questions through the email address that we indicate here at the bottom, so congresspr@mail.ertico.com. And just to give you a few more minutes to send in some questions, I just would like to highlight some things. So I'd make the link with the Congress. Before that, I don't know. I'm trying to share my screen. Great. So I would just like to mention that on the step or on the path, let's say, to the ITS Congress, we have as well another important event, which is the UCAT conference, which is planned on the 3rd and the 4th of May. It's organized together by the FAME project, together with the Commission and the CCAM partnership. So it will be complementary very well to the ITS Congress. Here the focus will be quite a lot on the policy, on what the European Commission has been developing in terms of policy and the different directorate generals so far, and as well to see where we stand regarding member states, and as well synergies between the different partnerships and initiatives that Andrea presented. So the program will be shared, will be available very soon. So early February, it will be published on the Connected Automated Driving website. So with that, goes back to our ITS Congress. So the program has been already presented by Lisa at the beginning, but I just would like to here highlight again the CCAM topic. So as you can see, on the left here, you have all the different topics or subtopics that will be addressed there. So we see that this really is about all the topics that we have been mentioning so far, going from the importance of connectivity, the cross-border solutions, the cooperation, the changing role of the infrastructure, up to really the importance on looking again at user behavior, the social acceptance, and then organizing more pilots, trials, and tests. So really learning here from each other. So I mentioned before this importance of international cooperation. Andrea also highlighted this, and that we are trying to do this at project level, but what better place to share all this with the international community in Europe and beyond than the ITS Congress. So here we will have one plenary session dedicated to CCAM, but of course we can expect that CCAM will be also addressed in the other plenaries where various related topics will be discussed. So with that, going back to the questions and answers, can we look at what's the status? Do we have any particular question from the audience? Otherwise, I have some on my side anyway to start. Okay, then in the meantime, waiting for that, here again, the reminder you can see on the screen on how to send us your questions. So let's start with Andrea. So Andrea, you just mentioned, of course, the CCAM partnership, which is a very important tool as well now for the bringing together the stakeholders that we need in order to work together on funded research and on the needs that we have there. So the partnership has been running for 1 year now. I guess that you have already some tangible results and added value. Can you maybe just briefly share some insights from that?
Yes, thank you very much, Stefan. And indeed, even if the partnership has been set up only 1 year ago, we already see an added value of having this instrument in place. And actually, we are envied by other parts of the world, the US, first of all, for having been able to achieve this. Of course, it wasn't achieved in a day. It took quite some time and a lot of work to be able to get there. I won't go in detail now. But what is the main advantage that we have? Well, first of all, we've managed through the partnership to bring together at the same table entities that were not necessarily speaking to each other until then on a regular basis. And I'm speaking about academia, industry, member states, road operators, public transportation operators, and so on and so forth. And to get all these communities, first of all, to understand each other, so to develop a common language and assign to different words a commonly shared understanding, to get these different entities to agree on what would be the end objective and how to get there, the roadmap that I was mentioning before. Through the partnership, we are also able to achieve a very good link between national and European level, which was something that was a bit missing until now. How? Through the state representative group, that is a group, another table within the table that is established within the CCAM, under the CCAM umbrella, where the member states sit. And this is extremely important on one side to ensure complementarity between funding being conducted at national and European level, because as Stefan showed in his slide, it's not only the European funding that is happening, actually, there's a lot, even more, that is happening also at a member state level. And in order to harmonize throughout Europe the regulations that allow for testing of automated vehicles. And lastly, allow me also to mention how we've seen this already, how the new projects that are launched under the umbrella of the CCAM partnership do feel part of a bigger picture, do feel part of a wider community, and are committed to contribute to the overall objectives of the partnership. We had a first meeting with the partnership and the calls that were stemming from the 2021 call, and it was clear that they were proud to be one of the building blocks of the overall CCAM effort. And this allows a much better interaction between projects like FAME and the projects that are then funded at European level, and it makes life much easier in coordinating this big picture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, indeed. We are very happy as well to be part of this adventure. And I think we expect many presentations as well at the ITS Congress on the projects that are under the CCAM partnership as well. So in the meantime, yes, so we have one question for Ricardo. So Ricardo, so you've been presenting two different platforms. So there's a question on how do they relate to each other, if you can briefly explain that.
Sure. Thanks, Stefan. As I tried to mimic with the nervous system analogy, where even our human body concentrates all the information for the brain to make decisions, but we have our eyes reacting to the lighting conditions changing, or our skin reacting to the temperature changes. We can see the work being done similarly. So on the one hand, we have the Urban Data Platform supporting all the data and making insights and suggestions and providing better outcomes for decision makers to make such a decision. But the other one can help on managing the infrastructure and the connectivity that supports this data collection to be resilient, reliable, efficient, distributed, and interoperable. And I believe that the second one, I forgot to mention that we are part of the CCAM partnership, besides being a proud ERTICO partner. So we keep looking into the new challenges, and we see that it also helps that the urban platform can support CCAM simulation scenarios and impact assessment, while the other one enables this communication with the vehicles, exchanging data, getting feedback from, so closer to the vehicles themselves and to the people, while the other one can help the overview of what's happening at the street level, and supporting with digital twins and supporting with insightful reports.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, very, very interesting indeed to have concrete tools for evidence-based impact assessment. That's definitely needed. Okay, we don't have much time left, so I have at least one question as well for Francisco. So you have provided an overview of different use cases, and in particular, so I think I understood you have been testing these more on the safety aspects, but maybe the question is, did you also look into wider impacts of these use cases and concrete implementations? So which ones do you see here that are actually most promising, actually in terms of deployment? Oh, you are muted. Yes.
Thanks a lot for your question, Stefan. Yes, it's very important what you are mentioning. We have performed some proof of concepts and some pilots in several locations. For instance, in one very important project that Andrea mentioned in 5G Mobics, we tested some use cases, and we tested it not only from the technical viewpoint, but also trying to understand what users are expecting. And the reaction to the technology was really fantastic. They like it if you explain properly how technology works, and all that has to be, in our view, all that has to be with VRU protection can be implemented, and also intersection scenarios, which are typical scenarios in urban environment, can really be improved through the use of connectivity, as we have shown before. Of course, it's a matter of cooperation among all the different stakeholders and actors. We need the public authorities understanding the benefits of this and pushing the implementation of these kind of solutions. But there is also field for companies coming from the infrastructure sector, from the transport sector, from car makers, so for the telecom industry, and we need to work together. And I think the CCAM partnership is an excellent step for this.
Thank you, Francisco. Indeed, I think it's very important as well to understand the needs and the acceptance from the users here, and work with them already at this level now to understand what we need to implement actually. So okay, so we just to actually conclude before we close. I'd like just to ask a last question actually to Andrea. Very quick answer, just because you made the link as well, Andrea, in your presentation on the current let's say forward-looking regulation initiatives from the commissions, like the AVS regulations. So when do the commission, looking at that, see fully automated vehicles on the road?
Thank you very much for this. I need to take out my crystal ball and I can give you an answer. No, the reality is that it's not going to be a big bang. It would be silly to think that we'll continue having the vehicles that we have now, and then in 2030 or something like that, all of a sudden steering wheels will disappear from our cars. It will be a progressive move towards automation, meaning step by step, there will be new cases in which we will see automated vehicles. We will have our own cars doing things automatically, and this is already possible now in Germany with certain vehicles that they are able to drive by themselves on highways. We will see always more of this. We will see things like automated parking functions. We just leave the car and it will go and park itself in a parking thing. We will see the shuttles most probably coming in and complementing as Francisco was saying, the existing driven transport vehicles with services that today would not be possible because too expensive and so on, and just to have a shuttle in certain areas going around by itself. And this will progressively increase over the years. So main answer to your question is it's not a big bang. We'll just see it coming step by step, a bit like we've seen automated driving assistance being coming into our cars step by step.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrea, and looking forward to discussing all this at the ITS Congress in Lisbon soon. So with that, I would like to thank all the speakers and the audience, and I hand back for the closure to Lisa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We definitely will be there step by step and look forward to experiencing it. I want to thank all the speakers and Stefan for moderating, and of course, all our listeners. Please note, as was said already, the slides will be available. They'll be available on our website and also through our newsletter. And stay tuned. The next webinar is planned for the 23rd of February on new mobility services. Thank you very much and have a lovely afternoon. Bye for now.